And first keynote speaker with us, Amber, the founder of the Pathway Group and an expert in helping teams to grow with good feedback. So today she's here to share her insights on the power of performance feedback. So we are excited and honored to have you with us, Amber. So we request you to introduce yourself and start begin with your session.
Hey everyone. Hello, how are you? Glad to see you all. My name is Amber, and I am the founder of the Pathways Group. And we are a global leadership development company. We specifically work with mostly tech companies, helping to improve in leadership skills like delegation, like performance feedback, and in using things like emotional intelligence and AI and leadership. And so today, I want to share some insights from actually one of our communication development programs that we have, and that is one of our most requested topics, and that is on performance feedback. Now, before I began this company, before I founded the Pathways Group, I actually left my job in corporate America and went to become the only American, the only female, the only blonde academy football coach or soccer coach for the Paris Saint-Germain Academy in Bangalore, India. So I spent some time living there for a couple of years and had the opportunity to work with about a dozen different teams. I loved my time there and really had an opportunity to learn and grow in my coaching style. Now, as I joined the team, I recognized that some of our teams were operating under a pretty strict command obey dynamic. So sometimes our players, oftentimes, they would come to sessions and they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction, and they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for direction, and they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for feedback. And while this may be an efficient way to teach a skill, in a game scenario, it did not apply as effectively as we had hoped. See, we found oftentimes within the course of a match, a player would kick the ball perfectly, exactly the way that we taught them. And then, before the play was even over, they would turn to the sideline to the coach for further direction and feedback. See, our players, they had mastered a task, but they didn't understand how it applied to the overall game scenario. Well, it might be easy to hear this story and think of it as really just a academy with kids, with children. How often do we go to work, receive a task, and then wait for instruction? And we found that within our academy, within our teams, we had a real opportunity to transform from laps and lines and lectures to one of true creativity, of real collaboration, and of real leadership and competitive advantage within our team, within our organization. And that first began with the way that we communicated, the way that we gave feedback, and the way that we coached up our players. So the first thing that we had to do was really stop. See, we had to stop commanding the how and start really communicating the what and the why, right? Oh, here, I'll try and put it this way. Might not be able to see some of my slides. And all right, here we go. The what and our why. We want to be able to really communicate both of those. And this idea really is championed from a pretty well-known book by a man named Simon Sinek. Sinek tells us and introduces us to a golden circle. Now, a golden circle looks a little something like this. What he says essentially is that many people understand what their task is, right? What the job is, but few understand why that is important. And so Simon Sinek tells us to really start with why. In fact, that is the name of his book, is Start with Why. And so he encourages us to really get into the heart of why we are kicking the ball. Now, whenever it comes to communicating your performance expectations, I want you to really focus on this what and this why, and leave opportunity for ownership within the how. Whenever I have people ask me, Ember, is this micromanaging? Am I giving too much information? Not enough? I begin with this. Are you clarifying the what and why and leaving opportunity for ownership within the how? You see, great performance feedback begins by creating an environment for great performance. And so, whenever we have clarity on what we're doing and why that is important, then we can act with more confidence and we can move forward with clarity in our performance. So, what does this look like on a football pitch? It's pretty simple. Rather than stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction, we provided challenges. So from here, kick the ball to knock down those three cones. Because in order to do that, you're going to have to kick with power and precision. And in a match scenario, whenever you pass, whenever you kick, whenever you shoot, you're also going to have to kick with power and precision. Now, how are you going to kick the ball? How are you going to kick the ball? From challenges like these, I saw some of the most heated debates I'd ever seen amongst 7-year-olds trying to decide if the best way to kick the ball was with the infoot or with the laces. In reality, both ways were right. And so we were able to expand our toolbox of resources from one way of kicking the ball to at least two. You might be thinking, okay, Amber, that's a nice story about football. How do I apply this within my life? I want to share a quick activity that you can do with your teams. We've worked with over 1 million professionals around the world in more than 75 countries, and we have worked with organizations like Google, like Microsoft, like Amazon, LinkedIn, and we use these types of activities to clarify expectations every day. And so the activity I'm going to share takes about 2 minutes. I want to invite you to join along. If you have a piece of paper, pull out a piece of paper. If you don't, then please open up a document on your computer because this is going to take about 2 minutes. I want to clarify expectations that I have within my team. I want to clarify my what and my why. So a good opportunity, a cue in my head of when to do this, might be whenever I am starting a new project, whenever I am working with a new client, whenever I have somebody new come onto my team. It could be whenever there is disagreement or there is a conflict within the team. You want to make sure that you're literally on the same page. Okay? I want you to take your piece of paper and draw one line across and draw 3 lines vertically. So it should have 8 boxes like this. If you have an open document on your computer, then number 1 through 8. Okay. All right. I want you to think about a team, the team that you work with. Okay. So within our team at the Pathways Group, we are a global organization. And so I want to think about what expectations, what performance expectations I have within my team. One performance expectation that we have is behavioral based. Because we are a global team, we have people, whenever we have meetings, that get up early or stay up late to attend our meetings. And so a behavioral expectation that we have is to come to meetings on time. And so I might write be on time. Okay. This is a simple expectation that we have, but it is very important. Some teams might start 15 minutes late. Okay. Some might start a few minutes early. Within our team, this is a behavioral expectation. I also have outcomes expectations. For example, at the end of any learning journey that we do with organizations, we do a report to show our return on investment, right? What was the impact of the workshops, of the coaching, of the online learning that the teams went through? And so, the journey that they went on. And so there's an expectation that we do a report and that it be timely, that it be organized, and it have clear details to show the value. right? So I'm going to put value report. Okay. So we have both behavioral expectations and we have outcomes-based expectations within our team. I'm sharing both because I'm giving you some flexibility, some latitude here. I want you to think about your team. What are the performance expectations that you have within your team? I'm going to give you 20 seconds per box to draw or write a performance expectations that you have. At the end of 20 seconds, I'll say next, you go to the next box and draw a different expectation. At the end of about 2.5 minutes, we'll have 8 different expectations. Okay? We're starting off this conference with a little bit of homework. Let me pause and ask, what questions do you have for me? Right. I'm not seeing any in the chat. Then okay. All right, friends. I hope I've given you enough time to get your paper or get your document out. Start my watch. On your mark, get set, go. What is a performance expectation? Okay, next box. This time is going to go fast. What is a different expectation? All right, on to the next box. On to the next box. On to the next box. It might start getting tricky. All right, next box. All right, next box. And your last box. Three, two, okay, on time. Okay, give me some feedback in the chat. Yeah, in the chat, 1 to 5. 1 being Amber, that was, or let me do 5 being Amber, that was pretty easy. I could have come up with 3 or 4 more expectations. 1 being Amber, that was the worst experience of my life. Don't ever make me do that again. So give me some feedback, 1 to 5. I'm seeing some good questions here. Seeing some 5s. He said, Amber, that was too easy. That's actually really good. 1.5. If you are doing this with your team, and I've done this with plenty of teams, that I see 1s and 2s, only a couple of 3s, then that is an indicator that there is confusion about expectations within the team, and we need to have a deeper conversation, right? I like this because it's a quick way to show this, to highlight this. Seeing these fours won't work with my team. Yes. I do see, is this based on any model or framework? This is actually a tool that is actually more commonly used with various dev teams within the Google development team on how they are developing a product. So it's actually a quick way to have clarification there. Yes, all right, I'm seeing fours, fives, this is great. So if you are with a team and you are getting lower numbers, then again, that is a indicator that we need to have a deeper conversation. I like this activity because it only takes a couple of minutes. As you can see here, I'm not a great artist. This is not meant to be an art show. It is meant to show and highlight expectations. You do not have to draw. A big reason why I give you the drawing option is because if you are in a team that is a team where there is not one language that is the primary language of everybody within the organization, then this is a common denominator to showcase those expectations, right? If English is my second, third, fourth language and I don't use it as much, then I might be more comfortable using pictures than only my words. Now, here's how I would debrief this with my team. I'm seeing in the chat, hey, I want to do this with my team. Everybody has about 2.5 minutes to highlight their top 8 expectations. My goal is to have 5 or more areas of similarity. Okay. I might have 2 or 3 that are different, but if I have 8 completely different expectations than the person that I'm working with, again, we need to have a different conversation. We need to go deeper. Okay, so we want to see where we have areas of similarities and what we need to clarify where there are differences. Maybe that difference is because that was your number 9 or 10. Maybe you didn't know that was an expectation at all. And more times than not, I have seen this with groups that we do this with, that they go, I didn't know that that was an expectation. I had no idea that you wanted me to do that. Or I thought this was an expectation everybody had in the team, and now I'm finding out that this is just a self-imposed expectation that nobody really cares if I do or not. Okay? So we find things to add and to subtract. Okay? So we want to have 5 or more areas of similarity. We can also then go a step deeper in our conversation. This is what I want you to do with your pictures or words that you wrote now. I want you to look and ask yourself, does my team know that that is an expectation? Many times unmet expectations are due to uncommunicated expectations. Do they know that that is an expectation? And we talk about what and why. Do they know why that is an expectation? Are we coming to meetings on time just because Amber wants meetings to start on time? No, it's a way that we show respect to our team members who are getting up late and staying up or getting up early and staying up late to engage in these conversations, right? So there's reason and there's purpose behind this, okay? So give you a moment to look at those. I want to pause here because this is a quick activity that can go deep into a conversation. So I want to ask what questions you have, and I'm already seeing some good questions into the chat. Question, how do we differentiate between performance expectations and formal goals and targets? Oh, fantastic question. So I will start with expectations. The expectations generally highlight more of the values, right? So there's an expectation that we do a report, okay? That we do a value report at the end of every learning journey. Now, that formal goal could be that we reach a certain value target within each report, right? We want our goal, we get a 4.8 out of 5 out of every learner review score, right? So that's a goal that we have. We have a goal that these reports are done within the week of journey completion. right? And so we can create goals from that. But we don't get to a great goal conversation if we haven't first clarified, hey, this is something that everybody in our team really values and expects to be done. Uh, and I have, even in my own leadership, found that there are goals that I set that nobody else in the team really has expectations or values about. So I start with this and then turn into, why is this important? And we'll talk in a second, what is the consequence, or how will we respond if these expectations are not met? Yeah. No communication gaps between the product. Yes, I love this. Exactly. Siloed conversations, they should be avoided. Yeah. So this gets us legitimately on the same page first. So I told you to look at, does everyone know what these expectations are and why they are expectations? Now we go one step further. What are the goals, right? So what are the targets? What exactly does be on time mean? Does that mean that we start exactly at 7 o'clock? Do we start at 7:05? Do we start at 6:55? Right? What does that mean? What are the goals for our value reports? Here I have experimentation with technology. That's a big goal within our company. What does that look like? How do we quantify this? And how do we respond if these goals, if these expectations are not met, right? How do we respond if these expectations are not met? So from here, I'll have something that we call a proactive conversation. Now, a proactive conversation is a quick 5 to 10 minute conversation that looks a little something like this. At some point in our working relationship, I know there's going to be tension. I may fail in some of these expectations. There will be frustration. And so while the emotions are low now, let us proactively talk about how we're going to handle that situation. Okay. Again, this can be behavioral or outcomes based. Right? I myself am a big picture, visionary type of person. I have people within my team that are very detail oriented. At some point, there's a guarantee that there's going to be tension and frustration at me looking at the big picture and people on my team looking at the details. This is complementary tension. We want this. If it gets to the point where it's unproductive, how do we handle that situation? What does that conversation look like? I was working with one team that had a known challenge of decision making. It was paralysis, paralysis by analysis, analysis. And they had a habit of this within the team. And they had a large, very important project coming up. And so, whenever we did this 8 box challenge, the decision making concern was prevalent. And so we talked about it. We had a proactive conversation. What are we going to do to make more timely decisions? And they implemented the Elmo technique, which meant we're time boxing decisions. We have time to define a problem, time to come up with solutions, time for final remarks, and then Elmo, which stood for enough. Let's move on. We're making a decision. We're moving forward. This was decided and agreed upon throughout the entire team. Okay. And so here we're putting in these expectations of, hey, this is the conversation we're going to use. This is how we're going to move forward. Okay. This can be a somewhat awkward conversation at the beginning. It saves for a very uncomfortable conversation later on down the road. And it does help us to confront one of the biggest challenges to giving great performance feedback. And that is called the fundamental attribution error. Now, the fundamental attribution error is really a fancy way of saying that many times it's easier to judge people by their actions and their behaviors while judging ourselves by our intentions. Right? We see that whenever we are driving down the road, especially in India. Somebody, they cut us off, they make a foul move, and we say, what are they doing? They're completely inconsiderate. They're a hazard to the road. We need to take their keys, get them off the road. What are they doing? But if we accidentally cut somebody off, we or are a hazard on the road, we didn't intend to be the hazard on the road. We didn't see the lane change coming. We didn't intend to be that uh, yeah, that hazard that is on the road. In fact, I was working with one team, and there was a person that people said, Amber, whenever this person speaks at meetings, they are abrupt. They're abrasive. Some even said malicious. So we talked to the person. I talked to the person, and I said, what is your intention whenever you're speaking at meetings? And he said, Amber, I'm intending to be passionate. I'm intending to be persuasive. And so there was a gap between intended behavior and perceived behavior. And so by asking for intention first, we were able to bring the two closer together. And that brings me to the first point of performance feedback. So here we go. The first point of performance feedback we want to do is understand, seek understanding. Now, this is a big word, right? Okay, this is nice. What do I do? First things first, we're going to communicate expectations by clarifying our what and our why, right? We want to clarify expectations first. And then we want to seek understanding whenever that is not met. And so I'm going to go back to this what why model. I'm going to seek understanding on 3 levels. 1, does the person understand the why and the what? Do they understand the why and the what? I might say, Erica, you didn't do, someone might say to me, Amber, you didn't do the value report. And I might say, I didn't know that that was an expectation. I didn't know the what and the why. This is pretty easy. Now you know, right? Now we can move forward, right? So this is my easiest level. Level number 2, Amber, you didn't do the value report. I know that that was an expectation. I know why that is important. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it well. I need more tool. I don't know how to do this. Here we have more of a training and upskilling conversation. You're thinking, Amber, we've run out of circle use. You said there were 3 levels. Level 1, do they know the what and the why? Level 2, do they know the how? Level 3, Amber, you didn't do the value report. I know that that's an expectation. I know why that's important. I know how to do it. Outside of the circle, I'm overwhelmed. There's conflict within the team. I have a sick child at home. I don't have the resources I need. There's something outside of knowledge that is an external factor that now we need to have a deeper conversation. Seeking understanding, it's not just saying, hey, do that, right? Or why didn't you do that? We're seeking understanding on this level, and this can help to be more helpful and proactive with our teams. Okay. All right. So told you very quickly. So first thing we want to do is seek understanding on these 3 levels. Second thing I want to do is have purposeful feedback. Okay. Have purposeful feedback. There's actually 3 major purposes to feedback. And by identifying your purpose first, you can be significantly more effective in giving the feedback. So the first purpose is to encourage. Encouraging feedback is that we let people know what we want repeated and why we want that repeated, right? That's my litmus test for effective encouraging feedback. I told you as a football coach, I would hear a lot of people give feedback, right? From coaches, from parents, from refs, from other players. And oftentimes I would hear things like, hey, Good job. Well done. Keep up the good work. You're doing great. And while this sounds nice, it is not effective because the person does not know what they need to do to get another good job. That's my litmus test. Do they know what to do to get another good job? So, in order to give effective, encouraging feedback, this is what I'm going to do. We're using the same model over and over again. What is the action that you want repeated? What is the action that you want repeated, and why do you want it repeated? Okay. So it might sound a little something like this. Hey, Amber, you uh, you added a graphic of the data to the value report, and that made it easier to understand and make an informed decision moving forward. Good job. Okay, so I still added the good job, right? But now the person knows what was repeated, adding a graphic of the data, right? You gave a visual of this. That was helpful, but it doesn't stop there. If I just said, I like the graphic, good job, then I'm going to repeat adding the graphic. By adding the why, I might say, well, the graphic was helpful. What if I also added a summary? What if I did this? What are other ways that I can help meet that why? Because it's not just the graphic that was helpful. I know that helping to make data more approachable and digestible to make an informed decision moving forward, that is the direction that we're moving. So encouraging feedback, I want to give my what do I want repeated and why? Why do I want that? Why is that the action that we want repeated? Now, honestly, I typically don't get a lot of questions about how to give encouraging feedback. I get more questions about the second purpose of feedback, and that is corrective, right? This is what if the expectations are unmet? Now, in corrective feedback, there is a causal analysis. There's something specific that we want to fix. And so here, we're going to use this what why model twice. I'm going to write this down differently so that you can, I think that the big one's not working. So I'm going to write this down. So we're going to use what why twice. So what I'm going to say is, what is the undesired action? Okay. What specifically is undesired and why is that undesired? Is it undesired just because Amber doesn't like it, right? Or what is this purpose? So, all right, I'm tearing this up, right? So why? What is the undesired action and why is that undesired? So, Amber, you did not include the data in the value report. And so it was difficult to understand the true impact of that learning journey with our clients and to make an informed decision to move forward. Okay, this is helpful information. Now I'm going to go one step deeper. We're going to do what, why twice, right? I'm going to enter into a conversation and determine what is the alternative action. What is the preferred action and why is that important, right? So this is a conversation. So it could be we need to collect data right whenever we finish our learning journey to have a complete report to make an informed decision moving forward. We need to have a process in place to make sure that the report is done in a timely manner. Maybe we were going to get it, but it was going to be too late, right? So what exactly is the alternative action and why is that important? This why, both first, but especially the second, is oftentimes forgotten. Many times, this is one of the biggest oversights that I see. This why helps create buy-in. Am I doing this alternative action just because Amber said so? Or am I doing it because I understand this is why this is important? Okay, my what and my why. In your corrective action, again, we're going to first seek understanding and then enter into the conversation of the purpose. I told you that there were 3 purposes to feedback. First was encouraging, second was corrective, and the third is to coach. The third is to coach. In coaching feedback, we are going to use the what why model twice, right? Same as corrective, slightly different. In corrective, we do a causal analysis. We pinpoint this is the problem, this is what needs to be corrected, and this is the corrective action. In coaching, we do value engineering, okay? So what was somewhat effective? Yeah, SBI. This is very similar to an SBI, right? Situation, behavior, impact. All right. What is somewhat effective, right? And why was that? Why was that effective, right? Why was this impactful? Now we elevate. What is an elevated action? What is an enhanced outcome that we can strive for? And why is that enhancement better, right? So here we're not saying this is wrong and we need to correct it. That's corrective feedback. In coaching, we're doing value engineering. If you don't know why something is working when it's working, you won't know how to fix it when it's broken, right? Here we're identifying what exactly is our action step. All right, I'm seeing some things here in the chat. As a leader, before giving feedback, we need to have efficient feedback loops and regular. Yes, we're going to get to that in just a minute. Yeah, they'll understand the what and the why to help cater a plan for the how. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right, so the purpose is typically where I do get quite a few questions because this is really the meat of our feedback. So I want to pause and see if there's any other questions in the chat on the purpose. I find a common oversight is not identifying the purpose beforehand. And so then we may come into a situation and we end up giving some encouragement with a little bit of coaching and some corrective, and then the person may leave confused. And so having that clear purpose is really powerful. Okay. All right. So first step is understanding. Second is the purpose. The third is the action step. You might be thinking, Amber, didn't we clarify the action step in the purpose? Yes, we did. I don't know about you. Sometimes I leave a conversation thinking that I've been very clear in my feedback, and sometimes it's minutes, moments away, and I realize that we have had a misunderstanding. Okay. One of my favorite childhood books growing up was the story of a girl named Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia was a hardworking housemaid, had a great attitude, wanted to do a good job, but she took everything literally. So she came into the first home ready to clean, and the homeowners gave very clear instructions. By the end of today, you are expected to dust the furniture, to draw the drapes, to put out the lights. And so Amelia Bedelia goes to work and she starts throwing dust all over the furniture. She takes out a pen and paper and she draws the drapes. She unscrews the light bulbs and puts out the lights. The homeowners come back and their house is in complete disarray, not because they didn't communicate their expectations and not because Amelia Bedelia was a poor worker. It's because there was misunderstanding. Now, sometimes I leave a meeting and I think we are having Amelia Bedelia moments. I will be honest, there are times whenever I am Amelia Bedelia. And I'm misunderstood, right? And so, why do I have this step of an action? It's because we want to avoid a million bedelia moments. And so clarifying an action step could be as simple as to clarify, this is what success looks like, right? Repeat back to me what you are hearing and understanding. Let's walk through how we'll do this in the next situation, right? Let's say next time we have some code we need to fix, how are we going to do this? The way that you clarify this action step is going to vary depending on the person, right? There are some people within my team, a simple email summary is great. There are other people on my team, we need to walk it through. You need to find the cadence of the person that you are giving corrective, encouraging, or coaching feedback to, and clarify the understanding, right? Do we understand that who is going to be do what by when? What does success look like the next time that we have this conversation? And then, just like what I see in the chat, we have this last point, which is schedule a follow-up, right? We clarify this action step so that we can have a follow-up conversation. I encourage you to schedule your follow-up conversation while you are in your initial conversation. If you say, hey, let's follow up in a couple of weeks, and you don't put something on the calendar then, the likelihood of that follow-up conversation happening goes down dramatically. Okay. If you say you want to follow up in a week, put it on the calendar right then. Okay. We have standing check-ins within our team. So it is a constant within our culture feedback loop. Now, how often do you think we should be having these feedback conversations? Go ahead and put in the chat. Should we be having them daily, monthly, weekly? How often should we have these feedback conversations with our team? Yeah, in initial, we need to have biweekly. Do by as our team has grown, we'll do volley. Weekly, monthly, yes. Yes. All right. I'm seeing a good cadence here. Now, some of this is going to depend exactly on the maturity. Yeah, how frequently we can connect depends on the severity of performance. Absolutely. So there is a lot of it depends. Studies are showing that the younger generation is seeking more feedback, right? And so, in fact, seeking a few times a week, right? So 3 to 4 times a week is what studies are showing for Gen Z coming into the workforce. Now you might think, okay, that's quite a bit. This can be a simple Slack message or Teams message that you send using this what why model, right? So very quick within our team, we do have weekly or biweekly, again, depending on the maturity and the performance level of the person. We always have weekly or biweekly, and then just as what was said here, followed by monthly or quarterly sit downs. And so here it's a combination of informal and formal feedback. Okay? What we have gone over today is a very can be used for your informal feedback and your formal feedback. So we can use a bit of both. I can use this for my informal Slack message, team message, something being said after a meeting to uh, help enhance the performance of my team members. Absolutely. We used to call this can't work independently as stretch as remark. Oh, he gives a sign of constant appreciation. Yeah. The monthly feedback is necessary to improve performance in a positive way. Yes. Yeah. And so here it's a bit of both, right? 3 to 4 times a week, those studies are not showing, hey, I need to sit down and have a lunch or have a 15-minute conversation. It's really those moments of, am I doing this correctly? Is there something right here? Especially in those initial stages of coming into a company. So I'll give a lot of feedback at the beginning, and then I do want to have that initial cadence. Monthly or quarterly is the standard. It's what studies have shown to be most effective for a formal sit-down conversation as well. It gives enough time for feedback to be received, to be interpreted, for action to be taken, and for that follow-up. Now, everything that we've gone over so far has been about how to give feedback. I will teach my team, I will empower my team on how to also use this model. Feedback uh, feedback is not meant to only be one direction. It should be multi-directional. And I see a big push for investment in feedback platforms and feedback tools, and not enough in feedback education, feedback training. So I know that my time is up. I'm going to end with one last thing, so give me 2 minutes here. One last thing here. So I do want to encourage you to teach your team how to give this feedback and receive it as well. So it is something that should not be given by one person. As a coach, not only I should not be the only voice on the field, many times I shouldn't be the loudest voice on the field. Now, I know that we've gone through a lot of tools in our 40 minutes together, and I am available for any further questions afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and put my LinkedIn here in the chat. I want to encourage you with this final story. Whenever I leave a conference like this, or I leave a session like this, there is a lot of information. And I'm reminded of one of the youngest players that I used to coach. He was 6 years old. His name was Achinthia, and he was so excited for his first day of football. On his first day, he came running out onto the pitch and he began yelling, "Pass, pass, pass." And I noticed that he was yelling pass even whenever the other team had the ball. He was yelling pass whenever he was miles away from the action. And he was yelling pass whenever he had the ball. So then he was running with the ball, going pass, pass, pass. And so I looked at Achinthia. I said, "Achinthia, why are you yelling pass?" And he looked up at me and he said, "Miss Ember, I do not know what it means. I only know it is a football word." You know, sometimes I hear organizations, I hear leaders sound a little bit like my friend Achinthia, yelling leadership, communication, performance feedback. We got this. Because we know that these are good words that can lead to big goals. But if we're in the wrong position, if we're miles away from the action, or even if we have the ball and we don't know in which direction we're going, then saying these words, they're not only ineffective, they're actually detrimental to our overall communication within the team. If we say that we value feedback and then we don't listen to feedback, the team is eventually going to tune you out, the way that they tuned out my friend. But if we first take the time to set clear performance expectations, to have these proactive conversations, to give meaningful, purposeful, encouraging, corrective, and coaching feedback, and then we take the time to follow up to show that we care, then we'll be in a position to yell pass, to receive the ball, to move forward, and to score really big goals. Friends, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Again, my name is Amber, and we're here with the Pathways Group, and I would love to be a resource to you as you move forward and score big goals within your team and within your companies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber. Whenever you asked for the questions to the team, I didn't see any questions popping up. That means like they were very keenly involved in your conversation and understanding that framework, whatever you're explaining on how to give that feedback. So thank you so much for this practical framework, whatever you have shared. It's really, it's going to be a unique way how we will see the feedback after this session. So understanding why, what we are doing, how we are doing, using that Simon Sinek golden circle, you brought it in every area of it in the feedback. So one word, feedback is a gift. It's not just giving and the taking in away. So thanks for all your with a unique way of coming up with a board and sharing us, engaging in the session. So thanks for that. We really appreciate you having you here. Once again, thank you so much. So let's give a clap, virtual clap to Amber for her session.
Thank you all so much.
So before we move on, there's a one thing. From the session, right? We might be thinking, why feedback? What feedback? But actually, if anyone can give the feedback regularly, we can expect almost 3.6 times of likely to be the individual motivated to do a outstanding work. So it's almost like a 3.6%. So for sure, with your the right framework, we are going to try it out once we go out of this session. Once again, thank you so much, Amber.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So, team, Amber has shared her LinkedIn list, so you can please go ahead and contact her. We can have further conversations over there. So, with that, we could see